Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today I want to have a conversation about the Immortal Empires. More specifically, a question revolving around that. You see, the Immortal Empires just recently released and the player numbers really prove that people were waiting for Immortal Empires. At the time of recording, which is just 2 PM on a Saturday, there are 80,000 players, well 84,000, when there were like 7k. Before this. It was actually kind of scary. I thought the game was going to die. It's clear that the community really wanted Immortal Empires over anything else. So the question is, should there be Immortal Empires exclusive DLC? Now, there's a lot of benefits and a few negatives towards that, so we're gonna jump right in. So for those who might not be aware for some reason, Immortal Empires is a massive combination of 3 games: Total War Warhammer 1, Total War Warhammer 2, and Total War Warhammer 3, all coming together, even their DLCs, to form the mega map of our dreams. A Warhammer Fantasy fan like myself will tell you very easily this is something that they could never even dream of. And yeah, it requires all 3 games to play. So could DLC work for this? The only negative I do see here is that you'll need the 3 base games to be able to get DLC for this. And yes, the majority of you guys watching likely have all 3 games. But for newer players, it's a bit difficult, isn't it? Because it's quite an expensive series. Thankfully, Total War does go on sale fairly often, which is actually quite surprising. So it's not that difficult to get your hands on Game 1 and Game 2 copies quite cheap. But we always have to take into account the barrier to entry, because that's at least, what, £180 if the base games are £60 each, or well, €60. But it is important to mention because of the fact of the price point. So because of the price point, would there be any incentive for Creative Assembly to actually make DLC for just Immortal Empires? Again, taking the player base into account, it's very likely that they know that a lot of people are very interested in just Immortal Empires. It's the sandbox, you can play all your favorite races, and not everyone wants to play the ones in Realm of Chaos. A massive benefit of this is that if Immortal Empires specific DLC does come out, they can hit places and areas that are currently not represented in the Realm of Chaos. The biggest examples right now would be Ind and Koresh, which right now are not in the Realm of Chaos map. And while this is entirely possible to get them eventually, because map expansions are very possible, it feels like that would be a lot of dev time for something that really isn't too needed. Again, for those not aware, Ind and Koresh are their own nations in the Warhammer fantasy world, Ind focusing on a fantasy version of India, and Koresh being focused on a fantasy version of Southeast Asia with loads of snakes and yeah, loads and loads of snakes. But Ind and Koresh, like I said, could eventually be added into the Realm of Chaos. So it really doesn't make sense to look towards them, but rather other races, factions in general that wouldn't really make sense in the Realm of Chaos map. Like, for example, some of us are expecting the Southern Realms. This is also known as the Dogs of War, Estalia, Talia, Araby, and the Border Princes, which are currently not available in the Realm of Chaos map. And obviously we can expect Estalia, Talia, and the Border Princes to be eventually added in because, you know, again, map expansions, if they are possible to go downwards, it depends on if that's realistically possible, because the most map expansions that we have seen have actually just gone to the right. But they are one of the remaining army books, and look, it's very simple to see that we might get this anyway, considering that Games Workshop in the past have shown that there are new icons for these specific factions. So this actually means that maybe Games Workshop has plans for them for Warhammer the Old World, and as we've seen with Kislev and Cafe being announced for Warhammer the Old World, there were clearly plans for that too, so cross-promotion works very well. A DLC revolving around the Dogs of War in its current state with the most recent rulebook, maybe some new units with some updates from Games Workshop, could work out very well when it comes to an Immortal Empires exclusive DLC, mostly because of start positions, because the Realm of Chaos map, while quite large, it's focused very heavily on the Chaos Wastes and obviously, you know, Cafe and stuff, and even then Cafe's quite small, so you couldn't really have really interesting start positions. You just have pushing start positions into locations which really make no sense. Whereas if they were Immortal Empires exclusive, which would give a lot of incentive to buy the other games, let's be honest, these types of DLCs would give a lot of incentive. You could have a character start in Estalia or Tilia, or even the Border Princes, one starting in Araby and one starting in, say, the New World colonies or somewhere else. It just depends, really. Or even in a port in, say, Koresh or Ind, because we know those areas are going to be opened up eventually. They did confirm that in a blog a while back. Rather than stick a possible legendary character, if we go through the Dogs of War Army book, let's just use Borkir the Besieger, who should be in Tilia or maybe the New World colonies, then being shoehorned into the Chaos race because apparently he's going up that way for some reason. You know, it's just one of those things. We clearly don't want Dogs of War characters to take a position from a possible Kizarite legendary lord or a possible, well, Empire legendary lord, because we're still hoping for the rest of the elect accounts, at least I am at the very least. So yeah, the thing is with lord packs, they can literally be in the realm of chaos map because you can stick a character anywhere without any context. For example, a character that I actually want is Teto Echo. He's a lizardman, and he can literally just show up in the realms of chaos map, even into the northern chaos wastes, and have a DLC story of him just fighting against a demon or fighting against anyone, really, just to have a bit of, yeah, we need a playable lizardman here. But it's a bit tougher with certain sub-races, like, say, for example, the possibility of the Amazons. Yeah, I know the Amazons aren't something that a lot of people want. Some people do, some people find them memey, but they could easily be considered a sub-race to the lizardmen, because I mean, it just kind of makes sense. However, if they've been thinking of that, that would have to be an Immortal Empires exclusive DLC. Mostly because there are no Amazons pretty much outside of Lustria. But it could work out very well there, as big ticket items that they couldn't be able to do in Warhammer 2, say they might have planned in Warhammer 2, but then time constraints, obviously, the world stopping for fricking 2 years, that was a bit of a problem. Now, we have had content which is exclusive to Mortal Empires, meaning that you needed Game 1, Game 2, and even a DLC, and that was Dryka. This is a character that was introduced. She's actually inside the Empire. She's in the Wood Elf roster, but with her own unique playstyle. And yeah, so we've seen this happen, but it's always been for free content, which could be a way to test the waters. It's very possible that then they can decide, well, this went out really well, because Dryka was incredibly popular. She was a character that a lot of people were quite impressed by, despite the fact that she constantly screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed. Yeah, the voice acting was just a tad annoying, but she was well received. So what if they decided to do that with paid for DLC and obviously just put a little sticker saying this was for Immortal Empires only? And I think that could actually work out quite well. Not only for the justification of those races, but the fact that they could easily find more longevity from just Immortal Empires rather than, you know, just Realm of Chaos DLC, because the map's already getting quite full, as we have 9 Legendary Lords on launch, 10th with Boris, and then now we've got an extra 4 with the Champions of Chaos. That's already 14, it's quite a lot of characters. If you go back to the Eye of the Vortex, which many people didn't really play after Mortal Empires dropped, there's already a bit of congestion, and we do know that Creative Assembly said more DLC more often, so it's not going to be good for Realm of Chaos, which is a smaller map by comparison, feeling very cramped up. What they could do, and this might be kind of interesting, is role reversal. So when it came to the release of the Twisted and Twilight, like I said, you had the DLC for both, and then you had the FLC for just Mortal Empires. And what if it just got reversed, where you had the DLC for Immortal Empires, but the FLC was for the Realms of Chaos, just to add in a little bit of flavor, saying, look, just because you don't have the Immortal Empires campaign at the moment, but you might in the future, because a lot of people will naturally start going there even if they're newer players, well, you're going to get an FLC Lord, which will be available there. It will also be available in the Immortal Empires, but that kind of softens the blow a little bit, and I think that might be a good idea, which would work out quite well for, say, for example, Game Pass, who right now does not have access to Immortal Empires because Game 1 and Game 2 do not exist there just yet. I'm not sure they will be there in the future, but you know what I mean. This already adds in a bit of a way to soften the blow. The main thing I'm looking at here is potential race packs. This is the thing about why I think Immortal Empire should have some exclusive DLC. I want the Dogs of War. I would love some sub-races, kind of like what we have now with the Warriors of Chaos for the Dogs of War 2. So Estalia, Talia, Araby, not really the Border Princes because of the lore change, but that's already a few bits. Then obviously the Amazons. Albion could work too, but I don't think that could work too well considering that, like, you know, Bellacor's there. Maybe even some warriors of the Southlands, as we do know that the Southlands does have a human race there that do fight. It's just like only 2 sentences of lore at least, but Games Workshop expanding upon the lore nowadays. Keep in mind that new races have to be approved by Games Workshop. Like, a lot of this stuff has to be approved by Games Workshop, or even done by Games Workshop in an early state. It's very possible Old World is mentioning stuff that we haven't seen in a long time, like for example Centaurs, which could easily fit in with an Albion faction, or hell, even their own thing within the actual steppes to the east. So there's loads of potential, there's loads and loads of potential. Same thing with Nippon. Even if we get, say for example, Indin Koresh in Warhammer 3's Realm of Chaos map, Nippon, I don't think so, but Nippon, we know they had some plans because there was some concept art, so that's very possible in the future. But the issue is that the way that the Realm of Chaos map is done is it's angled, it's just weird. We only have like a third, maybe even a half of Cafe, but not really the full thing. It's a strange way that they decided to go with the map orientation, so they'd have to work even more to be able to fit Nippon into it. Whereas with the Immortal Empires, it's just extra map and that's it, right? It's just literally that simple. Well, it's not that simple because game development obviously takes time, but I mean that it's more simple than doing it for the Realm of Chaos, you know? It just makes a lot more sense for Immortal Empires. I don't know, I've had this question in my head for a long time. I've talked about it in my streams, but I want to ask you guys what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are, because the idea is this could be received well, it could be received badly, because there's always going to be people complaining. But I just wanted to see what you guys think. Maybe this gives incentive to Creative Assembly. Maybe they already had that planned. Let's be fair, they've probably thought of everything, right? But let me know what you guys think in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. And before anything, because I know there's people who's going to say it. Yes, not before Chaos Dwarfs, not before Chaos Dwarfs. I get that. I'm imagining that we will see Chaos Dwarfs soon. If not this year, then early next. Because, well, you know, we had voice lines leaked for their intros and stuff. So just be a little bit patient. I understand that you're very excited for the Chaos Dwarfs. I am too, considering that I really love them on the tabletop. I was always so impressed when I'd see someone rock up with a Chaos Dwarf army. But you know, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for them. Whereas all the other races, you know, it's a matter of if. Anyways, I'll see you all again very soon. I just needed to leave that final comment there.